what's up, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent Switch Slots gaming video for this week, for the week of May 5th to 11th, and we got 7 interesting stories to cover today, including one in regards to Sony recently putting out their newest state of play, though, to basically some allegations against the CEO of Gearbox, which, yeah, more allegations, plus discussions, plus a possibility of a bill in the US Senate that could have an impact in games that have recurring monetization or microtransactions and loot boxes. So we'll get to those stories in just a minute, but we'll get started with our first part of our My 2 Cent video. Again, there's 7 stories we're covering. So for this one, though, we're going to be talking about a listing on EB Games. Now, it seems as though that there are some developers out there that are starting to see the success the Switch has been having and starting to see some of their games do very well on the Nintendo Switch, and they have started to look at porting more of their games over to the Nintendo Switch. One of those developers, obviously, is THQNordic. Recently, they released Darksiders War Master editions. They've also ported other games over to the Nintendo Switch. Excuse me, I think like Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy. Just recently got released Saints Row the Third, the full package edition as well. And it looks as though we might be seeing more games for them. One possibly a port, and one that might be coming to the Nintendo Switch after all. From an article from WCCF Tech, though, it reads, quote, Biomutant Switch and Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition, if I say it correctly, Switch appears leaked by EB Games Canada. According to the article, it's saying, quote, Biomutant and Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition had apparently been leaked for the Nintendo Switch by EB Games Canada. Both titles from THQNordic has been listed at the Canada retail website. The upcoming Biomutant, which will also be released on PS4 and Xbox One and PC, is listed for a release of March 30th next year, but since an official release date have yet to be announced, this could be very well a placeholder, which is true. Announced last year at Gamescom event, the open world RPG is slated for a release this summer on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Biomutant's unique design levels lets players change their character's ability and appearance with powerful mutations, bionic prosthetics, and weapons. Grow claws, sprout rings, or attach robotic legs. Each choice will impact the way your hero plays in real time. Combat that blends melee, martial arts, and firearms, though. Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition is apparently also coming to the Nintendo hybrid platform, and EB Games has the title listed with the release date later this year on August 30th. Earlier this year, THQ released Darksiders War Master Edition for the Nintendo Switch. Just to be clear, though, and as this article has pointed out, again, link will be in the description yet, neither of these titles have been confirmed for the Nintendo Switch at this time. As far as Biomutant goes, well, as of the recording of this video, it's still up on EB Games' webpage, though. They have it. As of right now, they have a release date of 12/31/2019, which I'm going to guess that's mostly a placeholder at this time, with a pre-order suggested retail price at $60 at this moment. That could change or so forth. So as of right now, it is still up on their page as we speak. Between those two titles, I would say Darksiders 2, I feel, is more likely a given given in terms of coming to the Nintendo Switch. While again, nothing official at this time, though, given how the first one came to Nintendo, given how, War Master Edition came to the Nintendo Switch, and from what I understand, it did pretty well, I would say this is it would not be a shock to see Darksiders 2 come to the Nintendo Switch. And honestly, I would be open with that. Out of the 3 Darksiders titles that have came out, I still think hold Darksiders 2 with high regards on that one. I don't hate Darksiders 3 or anything like that. I think it's a good title and all that stuff. Some things I agree with, some things I don't. I'm mixed with the decision to go with sort of a Dark Souls-like approach, which I don't have a huge problem with it, but I can understand why not everybody wants to, likes that approach and so forth. So for me, Darksiders 2 is more than likely will be coming to the Nintendo Switch. At least that's how I'm looking at it, though. As far as Biomutant goes, I'm not 100% sure about that one, though. But I do remember reading about supposedly the game runs on Unreal Engine 4. And if that is true, then I would say that there is a chance it could come to the Nintendo Switch, considering the Switch supports Unreal Engine 4. So I do think there is a chance. Again, I'm not saying it's a guarantee or anything like that, but there is a chance it could come to the Nintendo Switch. And honestly, I would be open for this title as well coming to the Nintendo Switch too. So my overall take on this is that I would be open for these 2 titles to come to the Nintendo Switch, assuming this information is correct, and hopefully we'll hear from THQNordic, or maybe we'll hear an announcement at maybe, Nintendo when they do their E3 digital presentation. But like I said earlier, between the 2 titles, I feel Darksiders 2 is more likely a given to come to the Nintendo Switch. Biomutant, again, not sure, but if the story reports are true that it supports Unreal Engine 4, given that the Switch supports Unreal Engine 4, I would say there is a chance Biomutant could come to the Nintendo Switch. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 2, and this one has to do with Capcom announcing Devil May Cry is going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the announcement that Capcom made that Devil May Cry is going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, I remember playing the original Devil May Cry when it came out back in 2001. I believe it came out back in October, months after I graduated from high school and all, and to me, it was a fun title in a way. It was a over-the-top action type of approach. It was a brand new IP at the time, and it was definitely a fun title for me, and it is a classic in my book. If I were to rank the top 10, one of my top 10 favorite video games of all time, I would say, and some may or may not agree with me on this, I would rank it at number 10. So to me, Devil May Cry the first one still holds a special place in my heart though. But the series itself has also been kind of mixed in a way, though. For every good title, like Devil May Cry 1, 3, and even 5 that came out, yeah, I did enjoy 5, though, not every entry they put out has been good in any way. Devil May Cry 2 is considered by many to be the worst entry in the series, and while I don't hate it as much as I used to back then, it's still not the best entry in any way. Devil May Cry 4 is certainly kind of mixed in there. I would say it's better than Devil May Cry 2, but not nearly as good as Devil May Cry 1, 3, or even 5. And then, of course, there was Ninja Theory's take on it with DMC, and while not everyone enjoyed the approach or the style, I certainly did not have a problem with the game, though. Again, I approached that like Devil May Cry 4 was. It's better than Devil May Cry 2, but not as good as Devil May Cry 1, and 3 and 5 are, to be exact. So it's kind of interesting to hear Capcom that is bringing over the Devil May Cry game over to the Nintendo Switch. That said, there is sort of a caveat to this announcement in a way. From an article, again, on WCCF Tech, again, link will be in the description, it reads that the original Devil May Cry will be released for the Nintendo Switch this summer, Capcom has announced. Capcom's announced the news through its official Devil May Cry Twitter account, relive the adventure that introduced the legendary Dante to the world with the original Devil May Cry coming to Nintendo Switch this summer, the treat reads. Alongside the announcement, Capcom has launched a webpage for the Switch version of Devil May Cry. According to Capcom, the game will only be made digitally, and there are currently no plans for a physical release, though. At this point, it's unknown which version of the game will make its way to the Nintendo hybrid platform. Back in February this year, we already covered an interview with a Devil May Cry 5 director and the producer, in which they said they would love Devil May Cry on the Switch. We haven't announced anything for the Switch, right? Matt Walker, who is the producer of Devil May Cry 5, and the director as well. We personally would love to play Devil May Cry game on the Switch. I'm one of the guys that always I want to play everything on Switch. I always asking for ports. Now, I will say I'm kind of mixed on this announcement in a way, though. On one hand, like I said, I still consider Devil May Cry a classic. I still consider that a absolute classic as well. And I will say, as far as Capcom goes, they have done a better job, and they have put out better games lately, though. We've seen the Resident Evil 2 remake. That was great, though. Resident Evil 7 remake was also great. And not remakes, but Resident Evil 7 was also great as well. And of course, Devil May Cry 5 was also really good. And of course, last year they put out Mega Man 11, which brought the Blue Bomber back after being absent for so many years. I'm pretty much putting a nail in the coffin for Mighty Number 9. And just recently, they just released Dragon Dogma Dark Arisen, if I'm saying the name correctly, on Nintendo Switch, which is actually a good game on Nintendo Switch. I'll be getting to review on that soon. Having said that, though, although Capcom has done good, it has certainly done a better job lately, though, I would say some decisions, especially their support for the Nintendo Switch, I would have to say has been kind of mixed at best to a certain degree. Some of it can be ranging from, obviously, and although Capcom isn't the only developer that has done this before, but we've seen other developers do it, release their games, such as like the Mega Man X Collection or the Mega Man Collection, where half of the game's on the cartridge and the other half you have to download it, though. And while in Japan, the full game is on the cartridge, though, although it doesn't sound, at least as far as I'm aware, not as bad as what Square Enix did with Final Fantasy X and X2, where there are reports about how not only do you have to download the other half of the game or get Final Fantasy X2, but you have to insert the game cartridge to even play it, which I think is very scummy as well, to some statements that Capcom has made in regards to the Switch that I feel, at least as a Switch owner, I'm not too pleased with. There were comments ranging from how they want to see Ultra Street Fighter 2's Final Challenger to see how well that does on the Switch before they throw more support behind the Switch, to recent comments that they made about saying that they want, in order for Devil May Cry 5 to come to the Switch, Dragon Dogma has to sell very well on the Nintendo Switch, which I have issues with that statement because it means that either A, they know they can't bring Devil May Cry over to the Switch, and they believe that Dragon Dogma is going to flop, and they're just making up an excuse, or B, they know they could bring Devil May Cry 5 over to the Switch, but are holding it hostage because they want to, because of Dragon Dogma and that stuff. So I'm a little bit uncomfortable. Not to mention this announcement. Not only do I not like the fact that there's not going to be a physical copy, but the fact it's not even the HD collection, where all three games into one. So I'm just very, very mixed on Capcom's decision on this one as well. We'll have to see how much it's going to cost, how big of the file size is going to be, and all. So again, my overall take is this: I'm mixed with this. I'm great that they're trying to bring the Devil May Cry over to the Nintendo Switch, but some of their decisions and some of their statements in terms of their support for the Nintendo Switch, in my opinion, has been questionable at best. So we'll have to wait and see, but I'm a little iffy about this one. It's not that I hate Devil May Cry. It's not that I'm against Devil May Cry coming to the Nintendo Switch. I just question some of Capcom's decision from their support to the Switch to why aren't they bringing the HD collection to the Nintendo Switch. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 3, and this one has to do with some information that have come out in regards of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, the exclusive for the Nintendo Switch. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3, and this one has to do with some information that has come out in regards of the upcoming Switch exclusive Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Now, last year during the Video Game Awards, one of the games that were shown off during that award ceremony was Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. The third entry in the long series of the Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which is sort of a continuation from the original X-Men Legends and X-Men Legends 2 Days of the Apocalypse. Those two games I would love to see remastered or remade for the Nintendo Switch, or I would love to see a third entry if that ever happens though. And a lot of people were kind of surprised about this because up to this point, the series was the publisher that held the series was obviously Activision, but now, given the fact that Nintendo will be publishing this one exclusively for the Switch, certainly has piqued my interest in it. Although some information has come out, but not a whole lot or so forth until recently, where we now learn that an upcoming issue of Game Informer is covering that is a part on the cover, and we'll cover a lot of stuff about it. But recently some information has come out online courtesy of GoNintendo.com. Link will be in the description. And according to what Go Nintendo is reporting, and this sort of summarize some of the stuff that has come out on the latest issue of Game Informer regarding Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 are, and some of the stuff we already know, but some of it is stuff we don't know about. First of all, it says, quote, Team Ninja is handling the development. Marvel Games is providing writing talent, character selection, and watching over authenticity. Nintendo visited Marvel before the Switch was publicly revealed in order to show them the hardware and plans moving forward. This presentation convinced Marvel Games to work with Nintendo on the game. Marvel and Nintendo both want to see the Ultimate Alliance series come back. Fingers crossed that Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, a remaster or a remake of those happen. I would love to see that happen, though. The series felt like a great fit for the Switch due to multiplayer focus and versatility of the Switch. Marvel Games were huge fans of Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo in general and always wanted to work with them. Team Ninja is filled with self-professed Marvel fans. Mark Sumrak, Sumerak, again, apologize if I'm saying the name incorrectly, is heading up the writing and has written numerous Avenger stories in the past. The story rides the line between comics and movies. There are also Easter eggs and nods to the comics. The story starts on the Milano with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Rocket Sensors picks up a reading from a Derelict, Derelict, Creed warship. The Guardians board the ship to come across Nebula, Roland the Accuser, and Proxima, Proxima Midnight. The Affinity Stones are on the ship, and the fight between the two teams sends the stones flying across the universe. Characters are introduced with word graphics, features, names, and witty descriptions. Tutorials are brief and folds into fights. The next chapter takes place on Earth during a prison break at the superpower raft. Selection characters at the blue shield points and choose any combination. Get a Woman of Marvel team-up bonus for select an all-female combination of characters. Spider-Gwen and Miles Morales team up and get them a Web Warrior bonus. Multiple attributes bonus can run at once. Other attribute bonus includes Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Wisecracking Warriors, Femina Fatales, Defenders, Midnight Suns, and more. Each characters have a general style of attack and specialties, all which can be leveled up. Scarlet Witch can buff her teammates with a radius healing effect. Daredevil can use radar sense to identify weaknesses. Rocket and Groot are a single playable characters who work together. Groot will whip enemies with his vines and then light them up with a quantum igniter. Roster features over 24 characters. XP cubes will boost experience quickly when picked up. You can also use low-level characters with other high-power choice to boost their XP quicker. 4 characters are on screen at all times. Customization your characters with different abilities and stats. There's a classic camera option for wide field view and heroic camera for up-close looks. Syringe attacks are unique abilities and combos between the two heroes. For example, Iron Man can shoot Captain America's shield to split the laser. Storm and Thor can create a cyclone together. These syringe attack features button prompts that players have to hit together to activate. Extreme attacks are active by both triggers when your EX grudge is full. This flashes a character's portrait on the screen and let other players join in. These attacks clear the screen and show a devastating attack. All 4 characters use an extreme attack at once for an ultimate extreme complete with a damage counter. Enemies have all sort of attacks and some have a stagging bar, Stagger, that will empty until they are stunned. There's a boss battle against Electro and Venom that takes place on the Raft prison. Venom must be lured to sparkling hot spots that triggers a sonic alarms and opens him up to attack. The team is still working on ways to make it easier for players to keep track of their characters in all action. The Alliance enhancement system includes upgrades that applies to the whole team. These are unlocked through credits and enhanced points, and you must unlock points to gain access to adjacent nods. These various points will include ability, usage, defense, or offensive buffs. You can also focus on individual characters to power them up, and standing levels open to all 4 primary abilities for a character. Each ability can be improved with ability points you earn during play. There's a whole lot of information, so I'm not going to go over all of them though. But I'll end it with the last couple parts, and that is though that the game will also contain a number of Marvel villains outside the Black Order. Locations include Shadowland, New York, Avengers Tower, X Mansion, and many more. And confirmed characters thus far, although others have been confirmed, are Black Panther, Black Widow, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Crystal, Daredevil, Deadpool, Doctor Strange, Drakes, Falcon, Gnomar, Hawkeye, Hulk, Iron Man, Miles Morales, Miss Marvel, Nightcrawler, Rocket and Groot, Scarlet Witch, Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man, Star-Lord, Storm, Thor, Venom, Wasp, and Wolverine. So there's a lot of information. I'll have a link in the description. You can check it out. I will say this is definitely one of the titles I am looking forward to trying out for the Nintendo Switch. And to see the Marvel's Ultimate Alliance series be brought back and all, it certainly has perked my interest in this game. Hopefully this game will do well, just like last year's Spider-Man did on the PS4. Although it's too early to tell if the game will be a success or not though. Given Nintendo's history of putting out games that have quality, value, and content, I do have confidence this one will probably do well. Again, I'll admit, it's too early to tell at this time. We won't know for certain, but I do have confidence on this title. And hopefully this and Spider-Man will not only will convince Disney to perhaps maybe they need to reevaluate in regards of the Star Wars license, because we've seen how that has been handled so far. We've seen, especially with Star Wars Battlefront 2, and I really don't have a lot of confidence with Jedi Fallen Order. Again, anything could change, but we'll have to wait and see in that one. But overall, looking forward to Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 4, and this one has to do with more comments made by Platinum in regards to their relationship with Nintendo, in regards with the canceled Xbox One exclusive Scalebound. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 4 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this week we're going to be taking a look at some more information that has come out from the interview Platinum had with Video Games Chronicles. Now, last week some information came out about it in regards to Platinum as far as what the future holds for them, and they've talked about lately how they want to push towards more like self-publishing their titles and so forth, which certainly there's nothing wrong with that or doing something like that though. But it also doesn't mean that they're going to abandon, working with other publishers and so forth though. But they've also opened up a little bit about in regards to what happened with Scalebound, the Xbox One exclusive that was shown off at Microsoft's E3 event before eventually the title got pulled and all that stuff. Although now there apparently seems to be some rumors going around that Nintendo might be working with Platinum to get that game back or anything like that. Again, no official confirmation at this time. It's way true, and no one knows if that's true or not or anything like that. So anyway, in an article in Nintendo Life in which they picked up on what Video Game Chronicles was talking about, according to them, they're saying, and again, link will be in the description, in the same interview with VGC, Platinum Games Studio head spoke about the positive relationship the company had maintained with Nintendo over the years and how respect and trust played a major part in the partnership. They say, and the head of Platinum says, Nintendo is a company that respects creators. From that perspective, it's a strong, organic fit for us. Obviously, these professional relationships have not been built overnight. The head of Platinum acknowledges the fact he personally knew the video game giant for more than 20 years, and Platinum in general had been communicating with the people there for a very long time. It's not like the last 2 years they came knocking on our door and saying, let's do all these games. We've been friends for a long time, and throughout the cycle we built a lot of trust and got to know who that other company is, and that opened the door to a lot of new opportunities as time goes on. So it's as simple that both companies had a lot of trust, have lots of trust. He also commented about the success of the Switch and how both parties are happy. He says, quote, "It makes both sides happy because if you make a game and unfortunately it's for a platform that doesn't do very well, then neither side is happy. To be able to make a game for a hardware that's doing very well makes both sides happy. Without a doubt, the Switch plays a huge part in the growth of the Japanese market right now." Now, in that also interview, they also talked about the cancellation of Scalebound, and according to them, they kind of feel like they shared responsibility for Scalebound's cancellation. In an article from the site Kit Guru, KITGURU, it reads, quote, "It's been just over 2 years since Microsoft canceled Scalebound and ended its partnership with Platinum Games. At the time, this was a huge blow for the Xbox One, as the console lacked variety of big-name exclusives, particularly from third parties. While many fans had blamed Microsoft for the way things turned out, this week the head of Platinum Games spoke out in defense, DEFENCE of Microsoft. Speaking in an interview with Video Game Chronicles, the head of Platinum, said, "Watching fans get angry at Microsoft over the cancellation wasn't easy for us." He went on to explain that the reality is when any game in development can't get released, it's because both sides failed. Scalebound was announced back in 2014 and was supposed to be Hideo Kamiya's dream project. Unfortunately, a number of delays keep pushing the game back, and eventually the project was canceled. The head of Platinum said that there are areas we could have done better, and I'm sure there are areas that Microsoft as a publishing partner wish they could have done better. Ultimately, though, the head of Platinum doesn't want fans to turn on Microsoft over the cancellation, as the company still gave Platinum the chance to make a new game. From the sound of it, though, Platinum Games accepts shared responsibility to what happened to Scalebound and doesn't hold anything against Microsoft. It is still disappointing that Scalebound was cancelled, but perhaps Microsoft and Platinum will team up again one day. So, in regards to their relationship with both of these companies, I will say that it's nice that Platinum has so far maintained a very good relationship with Nintendo. Despite what happened with Star Fox Zero, which felt like Nintendo, they had to do something with the Wii U gamepad, and the way the Wonderful 101 was handled, which felt like it wasn't marketed properly and so forth. And I do hope that game gets a revival and another chance, and possibly a sequel like what we saw with Bayonetta. Though it seems that the relationship has been pretty good for both of these companies. Though obviously we're looking forward to Bayonetta 3, but we also have Astro Chain coming though. As for Scalebound though, it seems as though he wants to point out that Microsoft, while certainly the blame goes on to them in regards of it though, they also share some responsibility with it too. And that's possibly true. I think both sides obviously deserve to be blamed on terms of what happened to Scalebound. And it really is unfortunate what did happen to Scalebound though. But it does highlight, I think, one of the problems Microsoft is facing with the Xbox One, and I'm hoping they will address this with their next system, is the lack of first-party games. Don't get me wrong, third-party support is still important, indie support is still important, and you can boast about how powerful your console is, but that's not going to mean anything if you don't have a solid first-party game, solid exclusive to pull people in. This is one of many reasons, not the only reason, but one of many reasons why the PS4 has been successful. Some of that also has to do with the solid exclusives that they have out there, especially with games like God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank. Same with the Nintendo Switch, thanks to games like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, to Super Mario Odyssey, to ARMS, Mario Kart 8, the upcoming release of Pokemon Sword and Shield. So it's these kinds of exclusives that are going to pull people in to buying your system, and that's something Microsoft was clearly lacking with the Xbox One. There were some first-party exclusives, but the bad decisions Microsoft made at the beginning, the whole all-in-one approach, really hurt the Xbox One big time though. Hopefully we'll see if Platinum will work again with Microsoft. Obviously, they are willing to give it another try. Maybe they'll do a different game or something like that. And it's nice to see them maintaining a good relationship with Nintendo. Hopefully they can maintain that relationship over time. As far as Scalebound goes, as I said earlier, there were rumors about the possibility that it could be revived. It could be on the Nintendo Switch, considering that Microsoft has abandoned the trademark and all that stuff. Again, it's a rumor. We don't know if that will happen or anything like that. But I will say this. Should that rumor turn out to be true, should for some reason somehow Scalebound does make its way over to the Nintendo Switch, if that does happen, my guess is going to be that it's going to look way different than what was shown when it was an exclusive for the Xbox One. That's where I'm kind of leaning on that one. But time will tell if this rumor ever does turn out to be true or if it turns out to be false. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we get back, we're gonna get to part 5, which apparently the CEO of Gearbox, Randy Pitchford, found himself in yet another controversy. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 5 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a controversy that Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford has gotten himself into again. Now, as earlier this year, it has been revealed, at least at PAX, that Borderlands 3, the long-awaited sequel to Borderlands 1, 2, and the pre-sequel, was making its way over to the PS4, Xbox One, and of course PC as well. And I will say that I do enjoy the Borderlands series. I would say it's one of the very few first-person shooters I like out there. I like the art style to the game, and I'm a big fan of the idea of combining RPGs with first-person shooter mechanics. So it certainly is a series I do enjoy. That said, it also has come from Gearbox, which is notorious for one of the most dishonest things they did, which was the Alien Colonial Marine debacle, a game that they outright lied about that they were working on, which obviously, based on the reports that have come out about it, does not turn out to be true. And Randy Pitchford, the CEO, has continued to sort of white-knighted and try to paint himself as the victim and all that stuff. And he's been called out on this many, many times. And ever since the reveal of Borderlands 3, there has been certainly some issues in regards to this. And some of it has been the comments that Randy Pitchford has talked about. Some of it ranging from it being for PC an exclusive on the Epic Store, which not many PC owners like. Gotten to the point where the game was review bombed on Steam, to Pitchford coming out saying that if this happens, they may never put Borderlands on Steam or anything like that. To him taking it out on Game Informer, pulling the fake news thing when it turned out to be that there were going to be microtransactions in Borderlands 3, but only cosmetic, and that doesn't seem like to be predatory or anything like that. But obviously they could have used different words for it, and Pitchford took it in a different way. Well, now a new allegation has somehow come out against him, and this one has to do with a former voice actor who voiced the character Claptrap, sort of a fan favorite from the Borderlands series, and is accusing Pitchford of basically it looks like abuse and assault, or basically, yeah, a pay dispute and all that. In an article posted on May 7th by Game Industry Buzz, it reads, "More controversy has arisen around Borderlands 3 after it's been revealed that one of the original voice actors not only missing from the cast, but was allegedly assaulted by Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford. David Eddings, who played Claptrap in the original game, claimed Pitchford physically assaulted me in the lobby of the Marriott Market at GDC 2017. The accusation emerged during a disagreement over pay over Twitter. Last week, Eddings explained why he's not reprising his role for Borderlands 3. US Game reported, having previously performed for free in addition to his role leading business at Gearbox, he said, "For the first time, I insist on getting paid for my performance and all of a sudden they couldn't afford me." Pitchford, meanwhile, claimed Eddings refused the job after being offered twice the going union rate for voice acting, and an offer the CEO deemed generous. He added that Eddings is bitter and disgruntled about his termination as an employee back in March 2017. The same month, the Claptrap actor claimed the assault took place. In a later Twitter thread, Eddings said, "I was fine moving on after Gearbox, but when my former boss started mouthing off about various aspects of my employment, including how highly compensated I was and how generous he is, I feel obligated to correct the record." Edding said he was willing to put differences aside and do something cool for the Borderlands fans, ultimately offering to do Borderlands for free if Gearbox paid him past royalty, and Pitchford apologized for the assault. It appeared that Gearbox did not take him up on this offer. Pitchford has become quite a controversial figure in recent months, with former Gearbox lawyer filing a lawsuit against him earlier this year. The suit accused Pitchford of contract violations, breach of fidelity, FIDUCIARY duties, and fraud, including giving himself a $12 million exclusive bonus, something Eddie's made up multiple references in the tweet. It's also worth pointing out, although this isn't 100% confirmed, so we don't know if this is true or not, but supposedly that lawyer that's suing Randy Pitchford is also putting out an allegation that it involves potential underage pornography. Again, I don't know if that's true or not. That's just the allegation at this time. Now, you can read the article yourself, but apparently when they updated the article, Gearbox is responding to this, basically saying, quote, Gearbox has responded to the allegations that Randy Pitchford assaulted Claptrap voice actor David Edding at a GDC event. The statement, which was obtained by Eurogamer, is below. Quote, Gearbox takes any and all claims of this nature very seriously, and we will abstain from commenting on the allegation. The allegation David's making because it's a personal matter. We appreciate David's contribution to the Borderlands franchise and have continued to assert. We will welcome him back in the mix as the voice of Claptrap and other future opportunities. So it seems like it's more. It seems like it's, pardon my language on this, but it seems like it's more. It's like he's creating more of a shitstorm every single time something like this comes up, and I would not be surprised if for some reason they decide to push him out or all that stuff, because it seems like it's more and more these allegations are going to become a problem, and it could impact the release of Borderlands 3. Again, it's too early to say if that will happen, but between the Epic Games Store, the issue with regard to microtransactions, the recent lawsuit by his former lawyer that's putting up some serious allegations against him, and this, though, I would not be surprised if the folks over at Gearbox or if 2K or them encourage Randy Pitchford to leave, because it's becoming more and more of a problem, and it could be an issue down the road. And like I said, it could impact Borderlands 3. There is that possibility, but we'll have to wait and see how things played out. But overall, I would say this is another serious allegation against him, and like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if I read one day that they decide to push him out and all that stuff. Again, we'll have to wait and see, but like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if that does happen. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 6, and this one has to do with supposedly a bill that's being floated around the US Senate in regards to the use of microtransactions in video games. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 6 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a bill that's being floated around the U.S. Senate in regards of microtransactions. Now, ever since Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out in 2017, microtransactions has certainly been on the spotlight, but for a lot of negative reasons. EA's decision to try to create a pay-to-win or the whole loot box situation really caught on and really, let's just say, pissed off a lot of people. It was picked up by mainstream media to the point that Disney's Bob Iger had to call EA and tell them to take it down right away. But that wasn't the end of it, as we started to see folks like Hawaii State Senator Chris Lee introduce legislation to push to prohibit the sales of video games that have microtransactions, to countries like Belgium, Australia, UK, and others to investigate whether loot boxes or microtransactions are considered a form of gambling. And I believe recently Belgium made a decision on that, and EA decided that they were going to fight it before they decided to kind of back away on it. Well, it seems as though we might be seeing something similar. We don't know 100% if this bill will pass or not, but it looks as though there is a chance there's a push to try to prevent games with microtransactions to be sold to minors, and that could have an impact, especially on certain companies and certain games that rely heavily on them, or as they like to refer to it as recurring monetization. From an article from the Washington Post, link will be in the description, it reads that, quote, video games popular among kids will be prohibited from offering loot boxes or randomized assortments of digital weapons, clothes, and other items that can be purchased for free under a federal legislation to be introduced by Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri. Hawley's Protection Children from Abusive Game Act takes aim at a growing industry revenue stream that analysts say could be worth more than $50 billion, but one that is increasingly has triggered worldwide scrutiny out of fear it fosters addictive behavior and ethical and enriches kids to gamble. Hawkeye's proposed bill outlined Wednesday covers games specifically targeted to players younger than 18, as well as those for a broadening audience where developers are aware that kids are making in-game purchases. Along with outlawing loot boxes, these video games also would be banned from offering a pay-to-win scheme where players must spend money to access additional content or gain digital advantages over rival players. Social media and video games prey on users' addiction. SIPHONING are kids' attention from real world and extracting profit from fostering compulsive habits, Hawley said in a statement. Again, apologize if I'm not saying his name correctly. No matter this business model advantage to the tech industry, one thing is clear. There is no excuse for exploiting children through such practices. Offering one notice example, Hawley's office pointed to Candy Crush, a popular free smartphone puzzle app that allows users to spend $149.99, $150 on a bundle of goods that includes virtual currencies and other items that make the game easier to play. A spokesperson for the game's publisher, Activision Blizzard, declined to comment, though. When a game is designed for kids, game developers shouldn't be allowed to monetize addiction, Hawley said. And when kids play games designed for adults, they shouldn't be walled off from compulsive microtransactions. Purchases made within games, often called micropayment or in-app purchases, have come under scrutiny in recent years, in part because children often use their parents' credit cards or other payment methods to rank up charges that could run into the hundreds or thousands of dollars. Parents have complained to the Federal Trade Commission that such charges often happen without their permission or end up being much larger than they expected. A federal court in 2016 found that Amazon unfairly charged parents for purchases their children made while using apps that were marked as free. It's worth pointing out that Amazon's chief executive, Jeff Bezos, owns the Washington Post. Loot boxes, which can be bought or offered as reward for achieving certain goals within the games, also has come under fire over concerns they are encouraging addictive behavior, especially by children. Like slot machines, loot boxes offer visual simulations, often through an explosive of colors and other animation acts, along with what psychologists call VARIABLE, again, apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly, rewards, meaning outcomes that are better or worse depending on seemingly random factors. Fearing the risk of addiction, regulators in Belgium, Japan, and China have taken aim at loot boxes and other in-game microtransactions over the past years, resulting in some video games companies pulling their titles from the entire market to comply with local restrictions. The Entertainment Software Association, ESA, a top lobbying group for the video game industry, counters by pointing to other countries, including Ireland and Germany, that determine that loot boxes do not consult gambling. We look forward to sharing with the senators the tools and information the industry already provides that keeps control of in-game spending in parents' hands. The acting president of the ESA said in a statement. The U.S. policymakers have also explored new regulations. States, including California and Washington, have considered their own legislation in recent years, though none of the proposal has been in law. In the nation capital, FTC Chairman Joe Simon in November committed the agency to look into loot boxes, though he later declined in details in a letter to Congress if the commission has opened any investigations specifically targeting specific video games or the practices. Though the pledge came in response to Democratic Senator Maggie Hassan, again, apologize, I'm not saying it correctly, of New Hampshire, who said the practice of paying for random loot has a close link to gambling. Instead, the FTC said months later it will convene a policy workshop in August to study the techniques used to market loot boxes and whether minors are becoming addictive. The agency would play a key enforcement role if Harley's bill is enacted, along with states' attorney generals who will gain the ability to bring lawsuits against video game makers. The proposal gained early support Wednesday from groups that advocated on behalf of parents. Tricking kids into spending money while playing games is unacceptable and should be illegal, says Jim Steyer, Steyer. Apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly. Chief Executive of Common Sense Media. Now, when it comes to the issue of video games and politicians, though, I'm kind of iffy at times, though. We've seen in the past how politicians will use violent video games, to be exact, as a way to sort of pull, the think of the children argument that we've heard before. Not to mention some of those politicians get their money from the NRA and are willing to blame video games, but turn the other cheek when it comes to actually doing something like, say, gun legislations and all that stuff. Call this political or anything like that, but I stand behind my statement saying that. That said, though, in this situation, I'm leaning towards more. I kind of agree with this on this, though, because we've seen companies, particularly Activision and EA, really start pushing out the microtransactions in their games, pushing the whole recurring monetization and so forth. And honestly, I'm glad this bill is being produced, and I'm glad it's getting bipartisan support also as well, because I think it's time some of these companies that have gotten a bit too greedy and have decided that pushing recurring monetization is the most important thing out there. I think it's time for them to get a reality check on this. And to me, while it's unclear if this bill will pass, I'm hoping it sends a clear message to the gaming industry that you guys need to change. You guys cannot continue to push this recurring monetization BS. We saw what happened with Star Wars Battlefront 2, and we saw the backlash that gained out of it, though. And we've also seen how companies have gotten maybe a little too aggressive with games, with microtransactions, and so forth. For me, though, the position of microtransactions is this. If it's cosmetics, or nothing that impacts the game or anything like that, and everything can still be accomplished without having to spend one dime, I'll somewhat tolerate it. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I'll somewhat tolerate it. Same with the way what Ubisoft did with Assassin's Creed Odyssey last year. Again, I don't like the idea. I don't like the idea of them you could spend real world money to get items or anything like that. but since there are so many ways since you could still accomplish what you want to accomplish without having to spend a dime or anything like that, again, I'll somewhat tolerate it though, but doesn't mean I 100% agree with the decision or anything like that. But once you start going into the territory of turning into a pay-to-win, or creating a situation where you are forcing people to spend money on microtransaction or start advertising the microtransaction, that's where I have to draw the line right there. When you start creating that kind of situation, when you start turning it into a pay-to-win, that's where the situation has gone too far. And I'm glad this bill is floating around and so forth. And I hope this serves as a wake-up call to the industry that this needs to change. This is unacceptable, though. And whether this bill passes or not remains to be seen, but it's obviously clear that the lessons from Star Wars Battlefront 2 have not gotten the industry's attention as a lot of us would have hoped for. And hopefully this bill floating around the US Senate is a wake-up call for them, because if they don't want the government to step in and regulate them like that with microtransactions, then I suggest they start reevaluating it big time and start putting up policies to really prevent this turning these games into a pay-to-win or anything that would allow a bill like this to happen. But overall, my take is that I'm glad this bill is out there. I hope this serves as a wake-up call for a lot of these companies that have gotten too greedy and have been abused with with microtransactions, or as they like to call it, recurring monetization. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 7, and this one has to do with Sony's newest video, Sony's State of Play. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our with our 7th and final part of our My 2 Cent video. And for this one, we're going to be talking about PlayStation's State of Play. Now, for those who are not familiar with it, State of Play is basically Sony's, or let's just say their own take on, say, what Nintendo has, which is their Nintendo Direct, or what Microsoft has, which is their Inside Xbox, though. Now, I never saw the first one, though, but from what I understand, not everybody was a big fan of it. Most people did not like the fact that the games that they showed off mostly focus on PlayStation VR, which, obviously, if you had a PlayStation VR, then you probably liked what you saw. But if you didn't have a PlayStation VR, then obviously you were not really a big fan of it. Well, I did get a chance to watch the State of Play, the second one that they did, and honestly, I would say it's actually kind of impressive, though. It may not have the kind of charm that, say, Nintendo has with their Direct, whether you had the late Shigeru Iwata on there, to even, former Nintendo of America President Reggie Fils-Aimé on there. Still waiting for one to see what Doug Bowser would do and all, but I definitely liked how it was structured and how it was done, and some of the games they announced on it were actually kind of interesting, though. While it was a short one, I believe 13 minutes long, and while not every game interests me, there were a couple announcements that I did like. Some of them, and I'm reading this off from, especially off the PlayStation blog, some of them were the new DLC for Monster Hunter World, the Iceborne. That looks kind of interesting, though. We know that's coming out September 6th. Riverbound looks kind of interesting, a hack and slash indie game. It almost kind of reminds me a little bit of the niche PS3 title 3D Dot Hero. So it is certainly nice that one's happening. The Away, though, that one looks kind of interesting as well. I would have to take a look at, would have to know more about that one before I could even consider getting that. But it looks interesting, though. Not a big fan of Predator. That seems like more of a multiplayer type of a game. And again, if you're into those kind of games, that's fine. From what I understand, it's an asymmetric one, which does sound a little bit interesting, where one plays, I think, the team hunting the Predator, while another one plays the Predator themselves, though. The one that really, along with Riverbound, the one that stuck out for me was the medieval one, though. Them remaking a classic PlayStation game for a new generation, which is certainly nice, though. Hopefully the other entries will be able to be remade, and hopefully this will convince Sony to maybe dig in and bring back some of their other franchises. Maybe, perhaps, let's see, what is it? Or maybe bring back, Ape Escape, for crying out loud. Why not bring that back? Or bring in, or games like, say, Dark Cloud. I mean, a lot of us would love to see a Dark Cloud 3 happen, though. And then, of course, we also saw the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer, and obviously it looks, they're basically saying that we'll learn more about it at E3 this year, so hopefully we'll get some more information. It looks promising, but recently there was an announcement about the game, which is we're learning that it's going to continue to be episodic, and I'm not really a big fan of that approach and so forth. I really don't like the idea that this is going to be episodic or anything like that. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out, but right now the announcement of that one being episodic kind of sort of lowered my expectations for that game. It might be good or not. We'll have to wait and see. Though. The combat, based on what I saw, although it's a little bit short, though, it almost looks like there seems to be similar to what Final Fantasy 15 or Kingdom Hearts is, but I won't know until we actually see some actual gameplay on it. My overall takeaway from State of Play, or at least the second one I saw, it was good. I mean, it was an interesting. I think it's nice to see Sony take their own take and their own approach to a direct and all that stuff, and it will be interesting to see if they continue with the State of Play and see if over time they improve upon it in certain areas, much like how Nintendo did with their directs, how over time they improve the formula and things, and now the directs are certainly, the way they are done is great and all, although not every direct is perfect. Some are going to be bad, some are going to be good, and it's the same thing with Sony's State of Play. Some are going to be bad, and these are going to be good. But overall, I did like what I saw, though. Some games stuck out for me. Not all of them did, though. And here's the hoping Sony continues with their so-called State of Play down the road. And here's the hoping they improve upon the formula, though. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about this listing on EB Games of Biomutant and Darksiders 2 for the Nintendo Switch? Do you think these listings are correct? Do you think we'll hear an announcement of these games coming to the Nintendo Switch? Do you think only one of those games will come to the Nintendo Switch? Or do you think none of these games will come to the Nintendo Switch? What are your thoughts about the original Devil May Cry coming to the Nintendo Switch? Are you happy about that it's coming to the Nintendo Switch? Are you disappointed that it's going to be digital only, not physical? Are you mixed about this, or especially the way Capcom has handled the Nintendo Switch so far? What are your thoughts about some of the info about Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3? Is this a game you're looking forward to playing on the Nintendo Switch when it comes out? Do you think Nintendo and Marvel should remake or remaster Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2? And do you think they should maybe bring back the X-Men Legends series as well? What are your thoughts about some of the new information about Platinum in regards of Scalebound and their relationship with Nintendo? Do you think they should continue that relationship with Nintendo? Would you like to see more exclusives from Nintendo from Platinum? Do you think that they'll do another game with Microsoft? Or do you think Scalebound probably prevented that from happening despite what the CEO is saying? And do you think the CEO was right to say that they too share some responsibility for the cancellation of Scalebound? What do you think of the latest allegations in regards towards Randy Pitchford, the CEO of Gearbox? Do you think these allegations are going to hurt Borderlands 3? Or do you think that there's a chance this could maybe force him out as the CEO of Gearbox, or you don't think that anything's going to happen at all? What do you think about this bill being floated around that would basically targeted games with microtransaction in the US Senate. Do you think it's about time something like this happens, though? Are you a little iffy about politicians getting involved in video games, to be exact? Do you think this could serve as a wake-up call to the industry that they need to really change this? And last but not least, what are your thoughts about Sony's second state of play? Did you like what you see what they offered, though? Do you think it was an improvement over the first one? Were there games you were glad that they announced? Were there games that you wish that they announced during Sony's state of play? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think, and I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it, and I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!